Man, I'm really starting to like Dobu. Yeah, episode 9 of Odd Taxi. I'm really liking Dobu, and it sucks because I know he's technically going to go down a route that's going to probably end up with him in jail, but he's a really cool dude in the end. He's kind of actually pretty level-headed, but he's technically still a criminal, so we still have to keep that in mind. But yeah, I just got done with the 9 episode and really did enjoy it, but here's my thoughts on it. Episode 9 of Odd Taxi opens up with Otokawa talking to the younger Daimon. He's like, yeah, did you get the audio? And he's like, yeah, I did. And he's like, now you believe me that your brother's working for Dobu? And he's like, no, I still don't believe that. But at least now I know, Dobu's going to be doing this thing. And Otokawa kind of just pretty much lets him know, I'm heading over to the Wharf. I'm going to go there. Dobu's going with me. A lot of evil's there. And he's like, you can't go there alone. You need to take the police. He's like, well, you want to come with me? He's like, no, it's out of my jurisdiction. He's like, well, then I'm going alone. But yeah, Otokawa ends up going there. At the same time, he also messages to Kawasawa that, if you're a real man, if you really do want to seek justice, go to the Wharf. It's all going down, so to speak. And he ends up taking Dobu to this location because he knows that Eiji's there and that he's captured. And he uses Dobu to kind of help him get in there and save his friend. While at the same time, kind of hoping that Daimon would come there to get Dobu, or that this Kawasawa would end up doing something to obviously stop Dobu as well. Which I don't really understand that part of it. I don't know if he's just trying to help Kawasawa, exact his revenge, but it did seem odd that he was willing to let some doofy college student know about this really dangerous happening and essentially putting him in risk there. So, again, not quite sure. I guess he was kind of hoping that he would maybe just capture what happened and then post it on social media, not necessarily get in there and get involved, but it is what it is. Obviously, on the way there, they end up having Tanakawa show up in a van and try to shoot him down in the streets, but they manage to get away. And then they arrive at the Wharf. There was kind of a quick exchange when they first arrived there. Dobu noting that Otokawa has mentioned that he doesn't like the water. And he's like, well, why don't you like the water? And he's like, well, I think I may have drowned in a previous life. And this is kind of something we'll address again later on in this video. But yeah, they go in there. Dobu ends up sparring, going into a fighting match with the guy that's guarding Eiji there. I've forgotten his name. I didn't put it down, but gets in a fight with him, one of Yanu's guys. And at the same time, Otokawa gets in there and gets Eiji and takes him out. And Otokawa and Eiji make their escape while Dobu, beats the guy and then goes to leave, and he is shot. Now, when he's shot, he mentions that he thought that he was an amateur. He thought that Skullface was an amateur, so it's implying that he ran into Skullface. We didn't get to see him, but we did get to see a hand. The fire goes off, and he says, "Skullface, I thought you were an amateur." And then he goes around the corner, and that's when he's confronted by Kawasawa, who's filming him and saying, "I got him. I took him out myself. I'm not a weakling," which we seen a little bit earlier. Kawasawa was with some girl, and she was kind of letting him know, everybody talks about how you're actually weak, and all you do is just sleep with your female followers. But what is the you? Is it a coward or is it not? And he gets upset about this, so he is kind of in a state of not really believing in himself so much, and so he kind of lashes out at her. And so this is his moment. He finally gets to capture Dobu. He's posting it. He's all excited about himself, but then Dobu obviously gets the upper hand, takes him down, and they have a fun little exchange there. But going back, yeah, like I said, they didn't show Tanakawa, the skull mask. I assumed it was going to be younger Daimon was there, but the fact that he didn't come around the corner after shooting him doesn't make much sense to me, so it probably was Skullface or Tanakawa, or Tanaka. But yeah, I loved... This is where I said I really like Dobu. It's like this really kind of a moment where Dobu just got shot. He's got this guy who's been harassing him on the internet this whole time and making money off of him, is filming him. I mean, this would be, for anyone else, probably an opportunity where you would probably beat the snot out of this guy. And if you were a bad person like Dobu is, you would probably want to kill him. But no, he actually lectures him. He actually lectures the guy. I mean, Kawasawa is kind of like, I'm sorry, I don't ever do it again. I'm so sorry. And Dobu's like, well, why are you doing this? Who are you really, kind of thing. And it starts getting a long conversation about Kawasawa's lack of resolve, how he's willing to give up on his justice so quickly, and how, He's actually a fake. He actually self-loathes himself, and yeah, Dobu's kind of like mentioned the idea, he calls him narcissistic, and Kawasawa doesn't like that. He's like, no, I'm not narcissistic. I actually really hate myself. And he's like, well, I think your extreme rejection and hatred for yourself is technically narcissistic because most people don't. He said most normal people aren't that interested in themselves as much as you are in yourself and what you see yourself as. And so it was funny because at the very end, Kawasawa was like, no, I understand, and I thank you, and I'm sorry for everything. I guess I'll leave now. And Dobu was like, this isn't like a self-reflection seminar. You're going to give me something. And he's like, well, I have a house, apartment that I bought, and a car, and I have some money. And he's like, yeah, I'll take all that kind of stuff. It's like, it's still Dobu. I'm not here just for your self-benefit. You're going to give me something. But then later on, they have... he has Kawasawa do like this video apologizing to everybody, and that he was defeated, and this has nothing to do with Dobu, and he's sorry for everything, and he's not going to don't harass Dobu anymore. And after recording and uploading that, Dobu takes his phone and chucks it into the river, seemingly kind of putting a closure to this particular story. The social media warrior of justice going out and stopping the criminal, but we'll see. I'm sure that's not all we'll see of Kawasawa. It seems like this writer really does like this character. As much as I didn't like him at the very beginning, still technically don't really like him, but it is kind of putting that perception of somebody that's trying to be something they're not, trying to get some kind of self-reflection or self-worth through social media. I mean, it technically started out like that, where he was trying to get likes and clicks, and that was his way of finding self-worth, and then it kind of spiraled down to him becoming a social media icon on video and everything, and YouTube, through trying to find this person to be a justice seeker. And it didn't really turn out that he was that strong or that he had any kind of real resolve in the end. So yeah, but like I said, Dobu was a shining thing here. He just got done beating the crap out of some dude, didn't kill him again. It doesn't seem like it's probably trying to paint Dobu as a murderer. He's not really somebody that is going to go through the full length. He's just trying to make money for his boss, which is still a bad person, but at the same time, he doesn't step past that boundary that you would normally get to where it's unredeemable. It does seem like the story is kind of trying to redeem him in some way, but obviously putting up against Yano, who seems to be even a worse criminal, does seem like the best way to kind of put some kind of redeeming value to him. Of course, Otokawa ends up taking Eiji back to Garuki to try to see if he can help him out. He kind of gives him some medical attention, and then this is where Gokuro is really trying to find out, why are you doing all this stuff? Why are you going up against these people? This is really dangerous. Is it because of what Dobu did to Shirakawa? Because this is really kind of reckless what you're doing. You shouldn't really be doing this. And he really kind of points out that it's really technically Shirakawa's fault. She let herself be used by Dobu. It's not entirely Dobu. And he's like, is it because you love Shirakawa? And that kind of has a little bit of a pause there at the end of that particular conversation. So not going to answer that quite yet, I guess. And the last thing we have is Garuki showing up at Otokawa's house. The landlady is trying to get a hold of Otokawa. He's like, I don't see his car out there, so he's probably not here. And they sit down and have a conversation about some issues that are happening. And what we end up finding out through this conversation is that Otokawa has a foundation that is funding him. They have been funding his living expenses ever since he was a kid. And he could have gone to an orphanage or not, or he could have gone to an orphanage, but he chose to live alone. This is what he decided to do. And Garuki's like, I guess it's a good option, because if he went to an orphanage and his family, came back, it could have caused some problems. And she's like, what are you talking about? I thought you were his friend. He doesn't have any parents. His parents are gone. And this kind of, they died. And this kind of threw Garuki off, because he's been told this entire time. She asked if Otokawa told him himself, and he just said, that's what I heard. So it doesn't imply that Otokawa told him that, but I guess you can technically imply that. But so essentially, Otokawa, it seems like, is kind of fabricating his past. And that's going to be the curious thing going forward. Obviously, I've kind of mentioned before, theorizing this idea that Otokawa has a split personality. It could also just be that he has fabricated his history in order to protect himself. It's just some way of blocking some kind of tragedy by fabricating what you believe happened in your past. And I think that's going to be what they're going to go into in the future episode. It does look like in the previews, it looks like Garuki is probably going to be doing some research to figure out where Odokawa came from and maybe what his past was. Because obviously that seems to be Garuki's focus right now, is to really kind of uncover what Odokawa is and what he's going through in order to help him in some way. So yeah, we'll see where things go from here. Obviously, there's going to be some issues with Yano not liking that Dobu came in and took his prisoner and beat the crap out of his lackey. We also have the fact that Odokawa is getting deeper into this. Garuki trying to figure out what's wrong with Odokawa, trying to undig his paths, I guess. Eiji, I'm not sure where they're going to go with him from this point. I'm assuming he possibly will help. I don't know. The only direction I can see Eiji going from this point on is probably trying to get Shiho. Trying to figure out where Shiho is. Maybe finding Shiho at some point and trying to save her from what I assume Yano has put her in going forward. We haven't seen Shiho since she said she was going to quit the whole Badger games, and so all I can assume is that Yano, being obviously not a good person, probably pushing her into something else. Maybe, into the red light district, something like that is where my mind immediately goes to. I just immediately go to dark because I can assume that's where they're going to go with this particular character just because she has disappeared. But yeah, and again, I think Kawasawa at this point, I don't know if he's going to have a redemption arc or what, but I think his story technically should be done and over with, but we'll see. That's my thoughts on Odd Taxi episode 9. Definitely did enjoy it as usual. Fantastic series. Looking forward to more. Hope you guys enjoyed my impressions. If you did, leave a like down below. Comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. If I missed something, let me know. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. And y'all take care.